Welcome back to the Spotlight with KB. I am your host, Tony Virrueta, and today in this episode we have Tony Virrueta. He is a Salinas Valley resident and has a lot of hats to wear. So that said, thank you, Tony, for coming on. We're going to talk about your upbringing, your story that led you to community service, and finally, your campaign. So you're campaigning right now for District 17 state senator.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. District 17, yes.
That's amazing. So I want to know a little bit more about that, and we all want to know more about you.
Sure.
So who you are. Who is Tony Virrueta?
Well, first and foremost, probably the proudest thing that I am is I'm a father. And I'm a husband to my wife, Cynthia. We've been married 41 years, and that's awesome. We have 2 great kids, and I have 6 grandchildren. I'm also the father to a wonderful dog. That's Harley. We'll talk about that more from my love of animals. But I'm also a community servant, and that's something that's important. I love giving back to my community, and I'm a proud veteran, Army Ranger, and I really enjoy helping veterans. I'm a veterans advocate. I'm on the board of Red Cross Service to Armed Forces, so there's a lot of things I do wearing different hats. And, whether it's helping with the homeless veterans, also visiting the veterans that are incarcerated at both the prisons, and just, working with them in that sense. I've been a driver for Meals on Wheels in the past and a lot of different things. So I find retirement is just keeping myself busy doing things that I love. And yes, now the military calls it service. That's a term that they call it. So when you get out, you continue to serve. And that's always I've wanted to do. So yes, I'm stepping into some deeper water now, running for as a candidate for state senate.
Wow, I love that. And that's a mouthful. Like I couldn't put that in the intro, and I appreciate that you kind of broke that down what you do for the community. And I absolutely love this podcast because I'm inviting people of influence, people that do a lot for the community. Mm-hmm. And it's different types of backgrounds, different people with different fields and interests in life. Mm-hmm. And yours obviously has gone into politics. So it fits perfectly right now because there's a presidential debate that we just had yesterday. Mm-hmm. And now, for those that are listening to this and it's airing later, mm-hmm. We have elections coming up November 5th of this year, 2024. And it's important to have that noted because if you want your voice to be heard, obviously we have to vote, right?
Absolutely.
And know the people that you're voting for. Absolutely. Understand what have they done? What are they doing? Has their work even done any change for the better? Or anything like that. It's important questions.
Kenya, you're so right. And in many different levels. Yeah, national level, yes, all the way down to your community level, all the way down to your city council people, mayors, congressmen, state senate, all the way. And get a chance to do your homework. Find out who you're voting for. Find out about that person. Is it the right person? And find out what the laws that you're going to be voting for. That's where your voice is being heard. If there's something you're unhappy with, look into it and vote for the right thing. That's where your voice is being heard. Because if you don't vote, your voice isn't being heard.
I love that. And a lot of people have complained, obviously. So it's important to get to know. And I'm glad that you're here. I think for those people that are like that are afraid to vote or don't want to vote or think it's a waste of time, it's not really. And I feel that this conversation will help them understand a little bit more of who you are and that you're there for us, for the people that love God, love our people, love our Salinas Valley. And it's very important. So again, District 17.
Yes.
That's what you're running for?
Sure. And
campaigning for right now, right?
Yeah, District 17. I heard a term when some people talk about, why do I vote? Does it really matter? I'm just one person. If everybody's vote was a grain of sand and you brought that one grain of sand to the water, you'll build a beach.
Oh, definitely.
And that's what really matters. That's why your vote does count.
Exactly. So I appreciate that. Yeah. What personal experiences or challenges have motivated you to pursue this?
Well, I'd have to say a lot of it has to do with just the things that I do in the community. All the things that I mentioned earlier, whether it's Meals on Wheels or veterans, homeless veterans or the Veterans Day Parade, for instance, I did that. We started that 14 years ago. And that is a local event that when I first started it 14 years ago with Phil Orozco, a Marine friend of mine, it comes right down here on Main Street. And the first time we had it, 5,000 people, about 35 participants. Last year, we had over 25,000 people and 150 participants. So it's grown. And that day is just to honor veterans. It's a nonprofit. We don't make money. We pay for everything so that any veteran who wants to join can do it, can come in for free. all these things that we do, I don't want to use the term but I do it because I care. That's it. I do it because I care for my veterans, my fellow veterans. And now taking it a step further is running for state senate is because I care. I care for my family. I care for my community. I care for my grandkids. I care about the inflation, care about my taxes, all that above. So I want to move into a different level to hopefully get to Sacramento and start working on some laws that'll make it better for us to live here.
I love that. And can you explain a little bit of your upbringing?
Sure.
Let's go a little bit back and to the root of Tony Virrueta.
The upbringing has a lot to do with it, and I give a lot of credit to my mom. My mom, born and raised right in Salinas, and anybody out there from Salinas, you'll be familiar with the neighborhood I grew up in. The neighborhood I grew up in was Baranda. I'm proud to be from Baranda. Baranda is a very colorful neighborhood, and I say colorful because it's kind of, in other terms, it could be a rough neighborhood. And a lot of our outlet for my family was to join the military. And I pretty much saw a lot of things in Baranda. And at 18 years old, I was ready to go. I followed my brother's footsteps, and I joined the military. And my mom was strong. And we're first generation Mexicano immigrants. My father came in the Bracero program, and unfortunately, he passed away when I was young. So my mom took both roles. But two things that my mom taught me early on that I use today is, number one, don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't do something. And number two is always speak up for yourself. She taught me that early as a kid, and I use that now. So when someone says you can't do something, I was like, okay, I'll take that challenge. Let's go. And not to prove them wrong, but I'll take that challenge. So that's something I take to heart, and I've been working on. So going back to my upbringing is Baranda itself was a mixture. It was a melting pot. There was every race in Baranda. And everybody, Latinos, everyone. And the good thing about that area is you grew up with everybody. And so I had a chance to know people by their character. I didn't care what color you were, what religion you were. You acted right, you earned respect. And so it helped me growing up in life and helped me in the military as well. So it just made for a very even keel right there. So that's the part that I decided, to join the military at 18, and I didn't look back. And when I went on to the military, and I loved it. From there, I went on to Special Forces, and after Special Forces, I went on to become an Army Ranger, and that was really exciting because it was tough, but at the same time, some of the guys that I worked with were some of the best, most intelligent men there. And when I got out of the military, it was a real honor to come home, and it made you really appreciate how good we have it here in America. I've been to many countries where we don't have what we have. I've seen people starving to death, in certain places on the streets, and here we have so many outlets for assistance, and it just made me proud to be an American. It really did, and so that was the exciting thing about coming back. And so, I got lucky enough, to marry my high school sweetheart. And while I was in the military, and I traveled all over the world, she brought up my two kids.
Oh, how beautiful! Alone too, when you were
traveling? A lot of it, yeah. Wow. So by the time I did get out, Tony Jr. and my daughter, they were getting ready to go into middle school. But at the same time, though, the good part is now I'm here for my grandkids.
Yes, that's beautiful. Yes, that's beautiful.
The cool part.
And 6, you said, right?
6.
Wow. So you had 2 kids and they multiplied.
There you go.
That's beautiful.
And they're all different.
Wow. I love that. And it shows a lot about the culture of the Salinas Valley. So I know a lot of us can resonate and relate to your story growing up. I know friends have gone to the Army or Navy, whatever it is, to serve our country. I want to know the turning point. You said a little bit, that's when you decided when you came back, that's how you served our country. But PTSD, though, a lot of people have came back.
Yeah.
And can you explain a little bit of that? I would like to know about that.
Yeah, post-traumatic stress syndrome. It's interesting is because you're exposed or you do things that are not natural. And, I want to clarify something originally, Kenya, is PTSD is not, and I want to say this clearly, is not insanity. A lot of times the media really takes off with this. When someone does something nationally, when someone does a shooting, oh my God, it's a veteran on PTSD, and he's not crazy or she's not crazy. They aren't. They're just a person that needs help. but the VA will help you. If you seek to help, they'll help you 24 hours a day. A lot of these veterans, because of the wars, mind you, they volunteered, and we're all grateful for that, for our freedom, that they volunteered to go and fight. But sometimes they come home with scars on the outside, and a lot of time they come home with scars on the inside that we don't see. And they need to seek the treatment, and they can lead a normal life. Everybody has. I do, but they just need to seek treatment. And sometimes if they don't, they try to treat themselves, and they hurt themselves. And so that's where it can go backward. But that's something that I help myself when I speak to veterans and homeless veterans, or even incarcerated veterans. I talk to them by no official capacity whatsoever. I just talk to them as a fellow veteran. That's it. Let's just talk about stories. Let's talk about what we're doing in the streets.
Because you understand that.
I get
right?
it.
That experience.
I've been there with you, and no matter where they're at, even if they're homeless or even if they're in a shelter or something, at some point they serve their country.
Definitely. And we need to remember that.
Always.
Definitely. How do you balance that? You came back.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're going back a little bit.
Sure.
You came back from serving. Were you in combat? Did you see things?
I did. And
how did you cope with that coming back? And
you had to really tell yourself that it was a job. Number one, you were serving your country. And honestly, I came back with gratitude that I made it home intact. And I know that God had his hand in it. And the reason why I say that is my work isn't done here. If my work was done, I would have been brought home. So that's the part where every morning, and I think I've talked to you before, and I tell people that I'm grateful for every morning I wake up and I'm like, hey, thank you. I have another day. What are we going to do? And until my work is done, then he'll call me home. So I think that, the military was a stepping stone, and a lot of lessons, a lot of experience, met some beautiful people, traveled the world, and working for the Uncle Sam was great. Been to places that I'll probably never go back in my whole life, but I served my country. And so I balance that now, and going to the VA, I go to some peer groups with other veterans, and we talk, and we don't share war stories by any means, but we just talk. And we're all veterans, and we're all in the same playing field. So we understand, we communicate. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, but we share the same lingo. We even share funny stories and jokes and stuff like that. But it's just a good group of people to be with, a good community group.
I love that. Mm-hmm. That is amazing. And now you mentioned again serving another way.
Yes,
by
absolutely.
Serving at SCAR.
Yes.
That's amazing.
South County Animal Rescue.
Yes.
Man, all the the tough guy things that you do in the military, whatever. But my soft spot's always been animals. I've had dogs and cats ever since I can remember. Baranda is a rural area. I've had dogs and all over the place, and so I'm a big advocate of rescuing animals.
I love
all
that.
My animals are rescues.
Yes.
And so I live in South Monterey County. Live in Soledad. And I was a part of South County Animal Rescue there. And unfortunately, because Soledad's kind of in a rural area, some people drop their dogs off, in the back roads, and it's just difficult because they're not used to being out in the woods or out in the streets, and get hit by cars or hurt by the wildlife out there. And so we'll get them and get them cleaned up and get and get them chipped and get them adopted. And in the past, I've helped with that. So it's just near and dear to my heart.
I love that. I'm actually a cat and dog lover.
Awesome.
As well. So SCAR has helped me a bunch.
They're great.
Vet bills are super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that it's free is just, it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. And it's possible because of people like you that are doing it for us. You're picking up the pets, you're taking them for surgery, and it's all paid. And all because people are donating and supporting this cause. And I absolutely love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Can you share a specific moment or interaction with someone that deeply impacted your understanding of their needs and shaped your approach to this campaign of yours?
Yes, I can definitely do that. I was at the grocery store during the primary. The primaries are in March, and it was early on in the campaign, and I was at the grocery store just getting some typical shopping. And there was a guy that used to he actually goes to the gym with me, and very quiet guy. We're in line together. And he turns around, he looks at me and he says, Tony, he goes, I'll do whatever I can to get you elected. And I'm like, excuse me? And he goes, man, I am just tired of it. I said, Tired of what? He goes, tired of everything. He goes, I can't afford to fill my grocery basket. He goes, do it. And if you get elected, do what you can do to fix these things. And that was a turning point, because a lot of my campaign, what I'm doing now, is not so much talking, it's listening. Listen to what people are saying. I go to East Salinas. I'm speaking Spanish to my gente. I want to hear what they're saying. They don't want handouts. They just want a fair chance. They want their kids to have a fair, safe education. They want to be able to afford to buy a home. They want to be safe from crime. That's all they want. And they don't want anything given to them. And you talk to them and that's it. But you listen to them. And when you hear that feedback, then as a leader, you can go out and try to, tell it. But again, what we talked about earlier, as you mentioned, Kenya, is November the 5th. Okay, these are the things that you want. These are the things I'm listening to you, but now make your voice heard and go out there and vote. That's an important thing. Otherwise, it's like you and I talking without the microphone on. All you can see is our mouth moving.
Exactly.
You got to go out and make it happen. And the one thing that we have here is, I think it's so important here, is me being a candidate. Is the good part about it is the district. I'll explain District 17. And the reason why I'm running is it changed in 2024. In the past, it was a smaller district, but now the district has grown. So now the district that I'm running in is all of Santa Cruz County, all of Monterey County, all of San Benito County, which is Hollister, and now all of San Luis Obispo County, which goes all the way down 101, all the way down to Rio Grande. So it's huge. And I'm from Salinas. I live in Soledad, so I'm smack in the middle of everything. Now, the biggest demographic in that area there is Latinos. We outnumber everyone. We have the numbers. We have the folks that if they get out there and vote, let me work for you, we'll win. Yeah. And I say we'll win because we'll win together. I'll be your senator, and I'll work hard for you.
Definitely. That goes to one question from an anonymous person. So it's a little bonus.
Go for it.
A lot of people have lost faith in politicians. So for those that are listening and are like, oh, another promise, another thing, so negative. You got to understand our cultura.
Sure.
Somos así.
Sure. No, that's fine.
What can you tell to those people? What can you say to them?
I'll give you a great example. And I'll use my personal example, and then I'll talk about the other people that they have doubt about. Last April, when I was approached by some business people and other people in politics, and we sat down for lunch, and they painted the picture of the new district. And we started talking about that, and I'm like, okay, what's going on here? What are we meeting for? And they talked about the new district, and then they finally said, we'd like to consider you running for District 17 as a senator. But first thing that came out of my mouth was, you know what? I'm not a politician. And you know what they said? That's why we want you to run. I said, wow, you're not jaded. You owe nobody nothing. That's why we want you to run.
I love that.
And that's why I'm running. At my age, I have the energy. I've lived a life. I have great experiences with my family, as being a veteran. I will go there with open eyes and fair. And so that's just Tony speaking. Now, for the other folks that we feel sometimes that are jaded, I sometimes, none of us, you see things on television, you look and you think, wow, what are they saying? It doesn't make sense at all. I ask anyone to look into a subject, for instance, when they're talking about it, make it a point to find out how true it really is. Because sometimes stuff that comes out to you in the media is not necessarily a fact. So make it a point to go in there and make sure it's factual. That's important. It's not. Don't just say, hey, they said or we said. That kind of stuff could be anybody's opinion. Until you find out the fact itself, then you could bite into it. There are, some politicians. I think that, just me speaking, I think that there should be potentially some age limits. I think there should be term limits also. At some point, if you've gone into after so many terms, I'm not saying they're bad politicians, but at some point, hey, thank you for your service. You've done enough time. Okay, let someone else come in.
Because we're human.
We're human.
Yes.
And in my candidacy, and in my candidacy, I'm running because I just want to be a new person, new ideas. I don't know everything. I've never been in politics, but I'm not new to the world. I'm not new to life experiences. So I will come with fresh ideas. And maybe let me jump into that chair now and then give it a shot. So yeah, there are politicians that I agree with and then some that I don't agree with. But that's the cool part about our country is that we have that democracy. We have that choice. Some countries don't have a choice. Some countries, they appoint a leader, take it or leave it. That's your boss. Here we have that choice.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And you mentioned you are a resident. You are someone who's been with us, a veteran advocate. So it makes sense to have to vote for someone that is one of ours. And we need to have these conversations again. Thank you for joining me, because those people that are listening, they need to know Tony Virrueta. They need to know that he's the person that has been helping our pets at SCAR, or that person that's been donating his time at, the veterans, agencies that you've been helping with. So it's super important to know you.
Sure.
And a lot of people do know you, actually. A lot of people that are listening right now are people that are voting for you. Hopefully November 5th, everybody that doesn't know you, I hope they understand that it's important. It's really important to put someone up there to help us and improve this situation that we have going on. What values or principles do you hold most dear? We want to know that.
Oh, gosh.
How do you ensure that they guide your actions and policies once you're there?
I'd have to first give all glory to God. That's the number one thing. And I hold myself as an imperfect person, but at the same time, though, I try to abide by his rules and, pray every day. And my values are somewhat his values. Try to be fair. I don't judge anyone. I don't care who you are, what you do, or who you're with, or what you look like, or who you worship. I care about how you act and how you those are my values. I work with everyone, with the parade, with even the military. We work at one goal. And so my job when I get to the Senate will not necessarily be to go against other people because they're a different, party. No, let's get the job done. If it's a good idea, let's go together and get it done. That's what I want to do.
In what ways do you believe that upbringing or those values and family background that you have, how has that influenced the perspective on key issues today, like homelessness? And, what's being faced in our state and in a little micro level here in the Salinas Valley.
Sure.
We see homelessness has, skyrocketed. So
homelessness is it's such a touchy issue. There's probably statistics that I'm not as accurate on that I can explain on why people are indeed homeless. Some because they're fugitives from crime, some because they're addicted to drugs, some because of mental illness. A lot of reasons. A lot of times, some are just bad, tough luck. Missed a payment, lost their apartment, all the above. But what I do know is that there's services to help. If they seek the help, they can get the help. If they seek treatment, to get off the addictions, they can get that help. They have to want it. If they seek this mental treatment, they can get it. There's things out there to get that support. It's something that it needs to be remedied. I think that we should, as a state, devote more of our money into helping our fellow Californians that are homeless. We put money in different places, but I think if we take care of ourselves first, that'll make a difference. I sympathize for them. I look at someone there and they're no better. I'm no better than them. I am not. They're just in that situation for any particular reason. But at the same time, though, we should try to help them. Let's assist them.
Definitely. I really do appreciate that you think like this. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people, like I said, may have lost faith, but it's like, you can't really do much except vote. Mm-hmm. Do you get me? And I know you mentioned the media, propaganda, or there's always opinions, there's always facts, there's always ideas that one wants to put on someone. Mm-hmm. And I want to just emphasize that this podcast and what it's meant for, it's not that.
Right.
It's not trying to shove anything down anyone's throat. Mm-hmm. It's simply having real conversations that matter and that people can relate to. And that is why this is dedicated for our Salinas Valley residents. I don't know who else may be hearing. I have family in other counties and even other countries, and they're still, trying to watch.
Sure.
So I appreciate those people that are listening and receiving this with grace, because we are real people. I'm glad I met you because you enlightened me today. I usually don't like politics. I don't like that part of because it's always disagreements. What do they say when we're having dinner or nobody wants to talk or bring that up? Don't do that. It's like a little rule, Why? Because it doesn't end well. But we mentioned earlier off record, and we're going to put it on record right now, about how conversations need to happen whether you believe it or whether you agree or not.
I agree with you. And conversation makes the world go round. And different opinions make the world go round. Sometimes, you learn that in the military. Sometimes some of the best ideas come from a person who just joined the Army. Hey, what about this, Sergeant? Wow, I never thought about that. And that's totally cool. Yeah, I agree with you. But those are the conversations. Keeping ourselves open to conversations. Exactly. And when we shut down, you're not listening.
Exactly.
But once you open up, open to communication. Even if you disagree, that's okay. At least you have an opinion.
Exactly. Yeah. And I encourage those people that are listening to also start podcasts or also start, talking to our community members and getting to meet other people, get out there and meet others. We're often in social media, and it's funny because we're so, social in social media, but out here, we're not networking. We're not going out. We're not meeting our people. We're not going out. Like right now, I'm playing in a volleyball league in Soledad. Shout out to Soledad Community Center.
Go get them.
They have a volleyball league, an adult volleyball league, and I appreciate them because we need that outlet. The community needs that outlet and that sense of competition and healthy competition. And sometimes we disagree on teammates and we learn to work together. And that is why our schools have sports and all that. You learn how to work in the real world. And now we're here. And it's the same thing. It's the same situation. I'm talking to that person that is listening right now. It's the same situation where you're listening to others, and it's people that you'll see at the Soledad Community Center. You'll see at SCAR. They'll see you. And I'm saying SCAR. I know you donate to a lot of people and help. Not only donate financially, but you're there. And I'm saying SCAR because it's dear to my heart.
Awesome.
They're awesome. They're amazing. So really shout out to SCAR. And but this is the point. We need to conversate. We need to enlighten one another. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to be foolish. A fear of mine when I started this was, why am I doing this? Well, why? Because nobody's doing it. Let's do it. Let's get on and talk to these people. What do you have to say?
You're that vessel, and that's important to do that. There is no dumb question. Throw it out there. When you ask that question, I guarantee there's 10 other people saying they had that question already in their head. You just happen to ask it.
Exactly. And that's why I encourage people that the podcast as well on Instagram, it's a forum. It's an open forum as well. You can DM and comment and ask your questions, things that you don't want to ask in public or on record or on film. You can have me ask for you. And I encourage our Salinas Valley residents to do that, to send messages or even ask questions or send feedback. And that's what this podcast is about. Is there anything you want to add?
Oh, I do.
Please do.
I want to talk.
This is what it's for.
I want to talk a little bit about my platform and where I'm in for candidacy. November the 5th, as you mentioned early on into our conversation, it is so important. It's probably one of the most important elections in the history of our country, nationally, all the way down to this level. If you don't feel it now in this community, there's a movement. Is a movement right now that we need to get out there and do something. In this district, I do a lot of listening, and I'll talk to you about 3 things that I'm really, really firm about. Number 1 is education. Education, we, unfortunately, in California, we're almost near the bottom in our country in the quality of education, and we need to fix that. There's also quality of education. There's things that we don't need to, that the teachers or faculty there don't need to teach our children or tell our children. That is just the right of mom and dad, and we need to fix that. If I get elected, I'll make sure that all quality of education goes up. We need to give their youngsters the best chance. They're our future. I'm retired. They're our future leaders. They're our future mechanics, teachers, doctors, presidents. They need the best chance for our best future. So they need that quality. They need to be also insulated from any news or information that they don't need to hear, that mom and dad should just tell them. Secondly, that I want to talk about is a part that you feel a movement too, inflation. Inflation is it's just killing folks. I met a guy when I first started my campaign. He had just graduated from Fresno State. Him and his wife moved to the area. She works at a bank in Monterey, and he wanted to start a family. I won't say where he works. He's a professional, and he wants to start a family. And he said, I just moved over here, and I'm renting an apartment in North Salinas. And I said, okay, cool. I'm renting a one-bedroom apartment. And I want to start a family. I said, young guy, young couple. And I goes, oh, really? And he goes, you know how much my rent is, Tony? And I said, no. He goes, my rent is $3,000 a month. $3,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. Take it or leave it. And he goes, and he shrugged his shoulder. He goes, how am I going to have kids? That's just rent. That's not even utilities, all the trash, all the other things. You know, car insurance, car payment. That's just out of control. How can a family, let alone live the American dream, rent, let alone try to buy a home?
Exactly.
Buy a home, have a yard, raise a family. That's something that's just crazy. We have these new condos that are going up on the peninsula over there in Seaside. They're starting off at, I think, $1.5 million, you know, and it's just like nobody from here can afford it. I can't. You know, people not from Monterey County are going to buy those places. Our gas, for instance, you know, my daughter, she moved to Texas 3 years ago. She's paying, I think, $2.35 a gallon of gas right now to fill her tank. We're paying about $5 over here. And we're paying an extra tax for a certain mixture for gas right now that I don't know why we're paying that mixture. We're paying all these extra taxes on our fuel. So my question I would ask is, where's that money going to? As I'm dodging all these, potholes to get to where I'm going at, where's this money going to? Why am I paying extra? You know, when I get elected, I want to roll these taxes back. I want to make it more affordable for us to live here. I want to be able to, our families to thrive, keep people from moving out of state, keep people staying in California, keep them in Salinas, keep them in this area. Let's not lose our local talent. And the last one I want to talk about that's near and dear to my heart is crime. You know, I come from a family that, you know, that we have people that are that work, you know, in the police force and corrections and so forth. So it's near and dear to my heart. So this goes to public safety, my kids' safety, my grandkids' safety. There's these really soft laws out there. You know, AB 109 that pushes these people out of prisons, for instance. And what it does is it pushes them down to county level. So it pushes them into county jails. County jails get full. What do? They release them out in the streets. So the money goes down, you know, for the prisons, and what happens? Crime goes up. It's an awful cycle. They go back in, it's just a vicious cycle of causing more victims. So then there's Prop 47. Prop 47, everybody out there probably watched all these videos, these people rushing through these stores, filling their baskets and rushing out. Okay. In 2014, Prop 47, I think it was $450. You could sell $450 and it wasn't a felony. Then they changed it to $950. So I can get my basket, you and I can get a basket, run into CVS, fill our stuff up with $950, and it'll be a misdemeanor. Basically a ticket, I think. You know, and that's why these criminals are emboldened. So what it does is they're stealing all this stuff, and what it does is, I'll use a store, for instance. So that store can't afford to be open anymore. So what do? They close. And you know who hurts? The town, because they just lost 75 employees. So now they got to try to find a job. It hurts everybody. The great news about this and why November 5th is so important, they had enough signatures to repeal Prop 47. So in November the 5th, there's going to be a bill there to repeal Prop 47. Vote for it, repeal it. And so when these people try to do that same thing, they get arrested. They get arrested, and now they pay their debt to society. Those are the things that I want to do. Those are my solutions. Is make it harder. Make it, you know, we have too soft the laws, you know, on crimes right there. But those are the things that I just want to put together some sensible laws.
I love that. I really do. It makes me happy and it fills me with peace, honestly, knowing that there's someone out there that's trying to make a change. And that's why we need to vote. We need to vote. And again, what is that prop?
Prop 47. Look it up, guys.
Repeal it, right?
Yeah, repeal it.
So do your research. I'm definitely going to do my research.
Sure.
And I'm going to definitely know what's going on because like I said, we're in our own little bubbles. We're complaining about the gas. We're complaining about, we can't even own homes.
Right.
We're complaining about all these things. But we're not doing anything about it. And we're here that you just gave us a solution. Go vote. November 5th.
Go vote. But what I felt this last year is people are, as I mentioned earlier from that gentleman who came to the store, he's just exhausted. He's exhausted, and he just said, God. So there's a movement now. The movement is, okay, let's get up. Take your pens out or go vote now. Let your voice be heard. That's the part.
And tell your people.
Tell your people. Tell your friends.
Tell your mom
it grows. It's infectious. Tell one person, that person tells 5. It just takes off. But there's a movement now. Those 3 things I talked about, they hit home. I'm just an average person who gets up, buys groceries, puts gas in my car, and has to make a mortgage payment, all those things. And I'm just trying to survive.
Yeah. And it's sad because we're going down a path where most of the people that are homeless right now, that's how they started too.
Yes.
So more and more we're seeing, and I think in the last episode with Melissa Morales, she gave us a definition of of what it means to be homeless. And it doesn't mean necessarily that you have to be on the streets. No, it could be that you're living in the same roof with 10 more families or 5 more families. Yep. That is, defined as homeless.
Yes, living in a car.
Definitely.
On someone's couch.
Yes. So that gives you a little perspective of how serious this is, that people now, regular people, the middle class, is having trouble now, keeping up with these taxes.
You hit it right on the head, Kenya. And you talked about middle class. The other term that I use is blue collar. Blue collar workers, blue collar people like me, blue collar people that are the mechanics, that are in the fields, that are at the stores, the independent business people. The coffee shop that I just came from. Those are the blue collar people that are employing local talent. Those are the ones that are hurting the most because they don't have corporations to fall back on. They make or break. They're the ones that's got to pay the overhead for their insurance, the liabilities, their employees, all the above, the leasing of the building. So they're the ones that are hurting the blue collar. The blue collar was what make our country goes around. It makes our community go around. Those are the ones that are they're looking at me like, man, how do I keep my shop open? I just got to pay all these extra taxes now. The insurance went up. Yeah, yes, they don't have the large. Yeah, they don't have that. So those are the ones that get hit. That's the middle class.
And let's emphasize that yes. Most of our Salinas Valley is blue collar. Most of it that's running everything. Everything. Simply this Media Knowledge Group. It's its own business. Yep. Labas Towing, my parents. And your company, your friends' businesses. They're all people. They're all people that are trying so hard to go forward.
Yes.
And working harder than usual, and it's crazy how much. Yes, it's crazy how much. And I'm gonna say this because I know a lot of people can relate. Truck drivers, truck owners, semi truck owners, they're also struggling, and they're the ones that are keeping America moving, hauling all those loads, all the vegetables, the fruits, the produce that we're giving out. I mean, it's Salinas Valley, the salad bowl, of the world. So we have to keep that in mind, that it's slowly hurting the people that are, delivering to others. It does. Yeah. And it's very important to start waking up, start asking questions, start talking about it. Yep. Don't be afraid. And that's amazing.
It is absolutely the case. It's totally, you're hitting it right on the head. Independent business, but the blue collar, they're the ones that they're the majority. This county, this valley is the majority. We live in paradise. When I got out, there was no doubt that I was going to come home. This is where I was raised. This is where I'm going to pass. And this is why I want to keep this place paradise. For my kids, for my grandkids to grow up here.
Yes, and a lot of people, their kids are moving out. Yeah. They're going to Arizona, and then recently, I had family member come back from Arizona. They have, and they say, "Wow, like we want to buy a house. We were able to buy over there, and we could afford it. To have a house, but we can't qualify, even though we have good jobs, even though we're saving." It's hard because it's just crazy. It's crazy, and I see this a lot. It's common, and like you said, it's a movement. Yeah. But Is there anything else you want to add?
That's the part I'm playing. That's the movement. Is that, everybody be a part of that movement. Vote. Get out there. And I'd say, and I'll just say it like it is. Let me go out there and work for you. When I get to Sacramento, I promise I will work and work tirelessly because I'm simple. I will just do the things that affect my family, affect everybody that I listen to, and try to make this area a better place to live. And
that's why we need politicians. We need people that are doing that are serving our community this way.
Because I care.
Yes. And it's sadly, a lot of people have been hurt and by politicians or what's going on right now, the taxes and all that. So we need to understand that just for everything bad, there's also a good. There's also people doing good. There's people trying to change. And we need to focus our attention to that. And we get distracted easily with things that happen in our life, but it's important to just take a moment and save a date, take a moment and do your research. Ask questions, find the right facts. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe Mr. Virrueta. You have to do your research and you'll see that everything checks out. And that concludes our episode. I'm not going to take too much time because, again, Salinas Valley is filled with blue collars and filled with people that are trying to salir adelante, go forward and continue and for their families. And in order to have our families close, when we see that families are together, that they're not moving out of state, because they have to, we see that there's a community being built and there's that respect or the values are continuing, that value or that principle that you give to your child. It'll remain there because you kind of get checked by your tios, by your dad, by your, you get checked by your family, your cousins. And that's the importance of family. That's the importance of doing this because it all goes back. It all goes back to that. People have to move out of state. They can't come back and separate, and that's it. And it's so sad. We need to live together and find a way to make it better for the generations to come. And that's what this is for. This is what the podcast is for, to talk about these things and do something about it. Not just talk about it, do something about it. And you just presented us with a solution. It was voting. So I appreciate that. Well, thank you for listening. That concludes our episode. And I just want to say thank you, Mr. Tony Virrueta, for coming on, for meeting me. I appreciate it. I wish you luck, and I'll be praying. I hope that people listen and take this with grace and that you are elected November 5th. It's my honor. Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope to see you back here later on. Anytime. So that'll be great. For you guys that are listening, please follow on Instagram at The Spotlight with KB. If you have questions, comments, you got to DM The Spotlight with KB. You got to comment down below on Instagram, wherever you see this, whether it's on YouTube or Spotify. Leave a review on Spotify, even if it's a 1-star, I don't care. Just tell me. I want to grow. I want people that are listening to grow, and this platform needs to grow so other people can be on it and share their insight, enlighten us. So that said, thank you guys for listening, tuning in. For those that are supporting, I appreciate you guys. And I hope that you guys have a great day. Thank you. And we are out.